I used to be fat. I used to be fat.
I also knew I was gaining weight. I was super embarrassed. So I don't have photos from me from that time. I refused to be in photos at that time. But the day that I joined the gym, they made me take a photo. And this is the photo that they made me take that first day I joined the gym.
The concept of me being fat and eating junk food and being unhealthy is a hard concept for a lot of people to wrap their heads around because they meet me now or they met me in the last couple of years. Health and wellness is part of my lifestyle now, but it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always that way. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jackie and I help people live better lives. I help people up-level every aspect of their life, from their mental health to their physical health to their spiritual well-being to the aesthetics of their life and what their life looks like. I help people create a life that looks good on the outside. It's a life that you want to take pictures of and post to Instagram, but more importantly, it's a life that feels good on the inside, because what is the point of a life that looks good on Instagram if it feels like shit internally? There's no point of it. So I make sure that we cover all the bases. So do not forget to click subscribe, because with me on your side, we're going to level your entire life up. Today, I'm digging deeper into my health and wellness journey and talking about how I used to be fat. I struggled with my weight for about 20 years, from when I started middle school until I was about 32, 33 a couple of years ago. I've fluctuated. I ranged from a size 6 to a size 16. I was up and down on the scales. I was up and down in my clothes. It was really hard growing up in like the late 90s, the early 2000s, as a girl who had a shape and who had a body. Thin was in, Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton. Nicole Richie wasn't even fat, but they called her fat because she wasn't stick thin. That was what was cool then, and I felt uncool because I had a body and that I was never going to be that stick thin person. Around 2011, I moved to Miami and I dropped a bunch of weight. I was in a tropical area. Everyone around me was sexy. I was getting paid to drive Ferraris and Lamborghinis. I was brushing shoulders with celebrities. So the motivation to lose a little bit of weight was there. I talked more about the work that I was doing in Miami in this video up here. Then in 2015, I started traveling for work. I ended up getting paid to go to 42 countries in 5 years between 2015 and 2020. And somewhere around 2017, the end of 2017, I started to really hate the work. More about that in my entrepreneurial journey, where I talked about getting paid to travel and like that aspect of my work. Just to be clear, I didn't hate the travel aspect of it. I loved that aspect of it, and that aspect of it is why I didn't stop doing it, even though I didn't like the work aspect of it. But the work was just shifting into a place that I really didn't like. Instead of sitting with those feelings and digging into, why do I not like the work? Like, what about it don't I like? How can I shift it? Instead of doing the work, the emotional work, I decided to avoid the emotional work, and I started just eating everything on all of my trips. Early 2018, I went to Bali for a month, and I love Bali so much. It has definitely changed since my first time there in 2013, just with the rise of Instagram. Bali can totally be a very healthy place, but I wasn't healthy mentally. So physically, I just started eating everything in Bali. Like, the hotels that I was working with wouldn't just leave chocolate next to my bed. They would also put it next to my bath, and I would eat it all. I knew that I was starting to gain weight because I started to crop myself in my photos to hide the weight that I was gaining. In early 2018, I went to Mexico City. I honestly ate everything there, but like, who wouldn't want to eat a churro ice cream sandwich? After Mexico City, I went to New Orleans, and I worked that contract out to be based around food, which had me trying literally every beignet in New Orleans. And honestly, no complaints about that. They were all delicious, but it wasn't healthy what I was doing. And now when I was traveling, I would go on a trip and then I would come home for a little bit, and then I would go on a trip and then I would come home for a little bit. And when I would come home, I wouldn't have the distraction of the trip. And instead of sitting with my feelings and kind of sorting out like what was going on here, I chose to escape my feelings at home as well. And I would just smoke a bunch of weed and then I would eat at home also. And like smoking and eating became like my two forms of escapism. I really just tried to escape everything I was feeling that I didn't want to be feeling because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what to do about it. So instead, I just ignored it and I just dove into food and weed. In like May of 2018, my leggings started getting tight. And now, if your leggings are tight, that's a problem. So I knew I needed to step on a scale, so I did. And I stepped on the scale and I was 218 pounds. And like I said earlier in the video, I fluctuated between a 6 and a 16. I was always up and down on the scale, but I had never really been over 190. Like I would see like 193 and I'd be like, okay, time to reel it in. This time I really let it get so out of hand. And I knew that I needed to make a change and I knew that I needed support. I ended up joining Lifetime Athletic because my friend was a member there. As a side note, I love Lifetime Athletics. People often question, is Lifetime worth it? Is the membership fee worth it? My membership fee is about $225 a month. Or if you're interested in learning more about Lifetime, I highly suggest clicking subscribe because I'm going to be going into a very in-depth video about is the Lifetime membership worth it? I'm going to talk about my likes and dislikes about Lifetime. Joined Lifetime, my friend was there, and we would just meet and walk on the treadmill almost every day. And when you're very overweight, walking is a great way to lose weight. I ended up losing about 20 pounds in just 3 or 4 months just from walking on the treadmill. And then my friend canceled her gym membership. So now I'm going to the gym alone. I didn't have my accountability partner anymore. I didn't have that motivation to go to the gym anymore. And I will never forget this day. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was walking on the treadmill. I'm gonna cry because it's such a pivotal moment in my life. I was walking on the treadmill and I was thinking to myself, why am I paying so much money to walk on a treadmill? I'm going to go cancel my membership when I'm done here today and I'll go join some cheap gym. And as I was thinking that thought in my head, one of the trainers walked over. Her name is Katie G. Katie G, I love you so much. You helped to change my life. Like, thank you. And she said to me, she's like, oh, I'm going to be having a class here, but you're more than welcome to join. And I'm like, oh, well, what kind of class is it? She said, it's a little bit of cardio and strength training. If you want to just watch, you can jump in at any time. So I ended up staying on that treadmill for an extra hour to watch the entire class. I did not join the class that day. I was so intimidated. Watching that class and seeing what the class was about, I was like, I can do this. And I ended up signing up for one of the classes moving forward. And if you're interested in Lifetime or you are a Lifetime member, the classes that I started taking in 2018 were GTX classes. It's like a group training combo of strength training and cardio. And honestly, those classes gave me a second life at Lifetime. Not only did I not cancel my membership, I started working with a nutritionist. I started working with Katie G as my one-on-one trainer. I started going to more classes. I started joining step challenges with other members. I started really committing to my weight loss journey. I started tracking everything in an app called Lose It. From the calories that I was burning to the calories I was consuming. I was eating mostly vegan at that time and I was really struggling with my asthma and I had shitty insurance. So I would re-up on inhalers anytime I had contracts abroad. I was also really restricting myself on the foods that I loved. I would replace pasta with salads. I would only allow myself to have a tiny bite of dessert. And I was also drinking a ton of pre-workout, protein shakes, powders, BCAAs, you name it. I was trying it. Really, honestly thought that I was doing everything right. But then I hit a plateau at 183, and no matter what I did, I could not lose any more weight. Statistically, mathematically, I should have been losing more weight. I was burning between 500 to 800 calories a day. I was only eating like 15 to 1700 calories a day. There was no reason that I shouldn't have been losing weight, but I was not losing any more weight. It just was not coming off. I was stuck at 183 for a very long time. And then before I knew it, it was 2020. And then it was COVID and the gyms closed. I honestly was just not going to commit to those like hard workouts alone. I really love Lifetime for the accountability aspect of it, but like I wasn't doing that at home. I also wasn't going to pay like $800 for a set of dumbbells. Remember how expensive workout stuff was at the beginning of COVID? I did stay in motion. So I adopted a yoga practice on YouTube. I started walking a lot. And honestly, I started just enjoying my life at home for the first time in a really long time. I had been traveling nonstop for the 5 years prior. I wasn't used to having downtime at home, and I started to really enjoy just the simple pleasures in life. I started reading a ton. I got a cute little inflatable pool. I planted a garden. I started painting again for the first time in almost a decade. I just really fell in love with life in summer of 2020. And then summer of 2020, I started dating someone. And you know how when you're first dating someone, it's like a lot of fun. You're going out, you eat. I knew I had gained a little bit of weight, but I didn't really care because I was happy, I was thriving, I was just really enjoying myself, and like gaining 5 pounds wasn't something I was really concerning myself with. But then shit started hitting the fan. I mean, I was dating a Dominican. If you know, you know. It's great at first and then it just spirals. So that shit spiraled. And at the same time that my relationship with him was so toxic and so tumultuous and so terrible, my brother's opiate and heroin addiction started spiraling out of control. And if you are someone who has either struggled with addiction or you know a loved one who has, like, that doesn't just affect the user, it affects the whole family. And shit with my family was not good. And my family is so important to me, and I love my family so much. I'm a very family oriented person. And I just want to say, like, on a side note, this Thanksgiving will be 3 years that my brother is sober and clean, and I'm so proud of him. And he has been such a big inspiration to me. But at the time, it was just so hard, and it was a lot to deal with. It was a lot of emotions that were really heavy and really difficult to process. And instead of dealing with those feelings of inadequacy and rejection from my relationship, and instead of dealing with the very harsh realities that I was dealing with my family and the arguments, I once again started to escape through weed and food. I basically ate and smoked my entire way through the holiday season. I could tell that I was gaining weight like crazy, and I just didn't care because I did not want to deal with what I was feeling. And it was just so much easier to smoke and forget and to eat and find pleasure in that food. Like, my only source of pleasure at that time was eating food and smoking weed, and I made sure to find the pleasure within it. Before I knew it, it was my birthday, early January of 2021, and my friends forced me to take a picture. And when I saw that picture, I knew, I was like, oh shit, I'm over 200 pounds again. And I just knew it. I saw it in my face, and then I realized I was wearing like my all black uniform of like very baggy black clothes. Anytime that I started to gain weight in the past, I would always just go to a black uniform of black baggy clothes to kind of just like hide under and to hide myself. 2 days after my birthday, I stepped on a scale and I was 207 pounds. So I had let myself get away from myself yet again. I'm going to leave that off there for today. Do not forget to click subscribe, because in the next part of this series, I'm going to talk about how I healed my relationship with food, how I healed my relationship with my feelings, how I lost 35 pounds in 6 months without stepping foot into the gym, without tracking a single calorie, without restricting myself whatsoever. Ultimately, how I ditched the diet mentality forever. I have had heaps of ups and downs since then. I moved to Italy in 2021 to be in business with a woman who turned out to just be a scammer. She just ran me for my money. I had a horrible breakup in 2022 with a man that I loved so much. He is a great man. I lost all of my money earlier this year, and through all of these very emotional roller coasters, I have not lost myself again the way I have in the past. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Again, my name is Jackie, and I help people create a life that looks good on the outside, but more importantly, feels good on the inside. I help people touch better lives mentally, physically, spiritually, aesthetically. I make new videos every week, so don't forget to click subscribe, because with me on your side, we're gonna level your entire life up. Thank you again for coming back to my channel, and I will see you next week.